Yeah.
That's going to change when you have two number 10s. One thing I asked Amorim about this after the second leg against Athletic Club. I said, so after United beat Lyon, he said, you can see our squad lacks some characteristics. And after they beat Athletic Club, he said, you can see our team has some weaknesses. And I went to him, what are they?
Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Jay, and today we are joined by a friend of the channel, staff writer at The Athletic, Carl Anka. Carl, back on the channel, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We've got loads to get into today. You can see there, we've got the DIY tactics board out. Look at this.
This is what we love to see. Carl with his tactics board doesn't get any better than that.
Unbelievable stuff. We're going to be going through United's new transfers in Cunha. We're going to be looking at the potential of Bryan Mbeumo and also what else United need this summer. Because when you bring things in, that changes the dynamic of other players, it changes how the manager wants to play. There's a lot to get through and analyse and basically work out how United are going to get Champions League football next season. That's what we've got to do.
We're going for Champions League football.
Well, they said sixth, didn't they? That was the report. I mean, and sixth is basically fifth, and fifth is Champions League these days. So, ipso facto, we're back in Europe.
I love the ambition.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a good point, that though. When they start, we're going for sixth. Why not just go for fifth? Why not go one more?
No, Jay, don't be ridiculous. Because if they said Champions League football, they'd look delusional.
Yeah.
How are you, Jay? Sorry.
I'm so excited, right? Because I was chatting to Carl about this before. Last time we had Carl on, we had him on the brew, which is just a waste of Carl's talents because, you've got Steve talking about Landman and all sorts, and Carl had his tactics board. And we're like, we need to get Carl on a show and let him do his thing.
Let him fly.
Without interruption.
Let him spread his wings a little bit.
He does so well. I'm looking forward to this one.
I want to talk about Matheus Cunha.
Yes.
But I think it would be remiss of me not to talk about him and Bryan Mbeumo almost at the same time.
Okay.
Because even though we're at the sort of bids and rejections
opening
phase with Bryan Mbeumo, it does appear as though he wants to join Manchester United and Manchester United want to sign him.
Yes.
Obviously, you're not here to predict the future necessarily. Do you assume the likelihood is that United will end up making that deal?
I never assume anything with Manchester United because Manchester United just have a way of changing your life. Okay, all right. I'm going to peek behind the magician's curtain and explain to you how my week was going. So Monday morning, you have your big meeting, all the Athletic staffers on Zoom. Hello, we're all covering Man United. What do you want to do this week? I want to do this. 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 And my boss went, Carl, I need you to start doing shopping for Amorim. So you may remember if you read The Athletic, I used to do a series called Shopping for Ten Hag. And I went, hello, here is an area of need that Ten Hag wants. Ten Hag wants to buy a central midfielder. Here's how Ten Hag usually use central midfielders at United and Ajax. And then beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, crank. These are the players that are good at that thing. And that was a shopping list. And I went, it's time, the summer's here, do that for Amorim.
I love those articles.
I went, great, cool. And then I was initially going, here's some central midfielders, and the boss goes, Liam Delap's gone to Chelsea. I need you to do this and start with strikers now that Liam Delap is gone. So my Monday afternoon is, Liam Delap's gone, here's strikers that you should buy. And I'm looking at Viktor Gyokeres' tape and I'm going, boop, 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 and then it gets to 6:30, and then Ornstein. The great man.
Damn it, Ornstein.
The great man says that Bryan Mbeumo. I've been saying Mbeumo for ages, but Mbeumo is how he pronounces his own name on the Premier League videos. He has made it clear to Brentford that he wants to go to Manchester United. Now, this is where it all gets really hard and tricky. Brentford's record sale, is Ivan Toney for 40 million. There's no way Brentford want less than that for Bryan. So United need to get more than 40 somewhere. The fact that they paid 62.5 for Cunha in instalments, so they're going to Klarna it.
Yes, right? Love that, Klarna it.
All right, so Cunha is across 3 different instalments. Suggests that United aren't necessarily flush with cash to just go, all right, here's the 15, let's just get this done. So there's going to be some brinkmanship there. But the idea that Mbeumo wants to come and Mbeumo ticks a lot of boxes of what United need on that right-hand side means we can now start talking about what this sort of Amorim team will look like. So that's what I did on Tuesday. I wrote a very, very short, punchy cheat sheet on what Bryan Mbeumo offers as a football player and where he'd fit in. And where he fits in is the right number 10. So this one. And Cunha is your left one. So United's first 3 signings, possibly, if everything goes well, are the 2 players who play behind your number 9, which basically changes not just the front 3, your wing backs, and now that Bruno Fernandes has said he wants to stay, changes your midfield complexion as well. Basically changes everything apart from your goalkeeper and your back 3, maybe. But even then, yeah, it could change everything. So, Mbeumo. I'm going to start with Mbeumo because I watched a lot more Brentford than I've watched Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Cool.
He's brilliant. In short, right? The best way I can put it is he's probably the best player in the bottom half of the Premier League, except Brentford aren't in the Premier League because he scored 20 goals and he took him to 10th. In the piece I wrote in The Athletic, I said, if you want a really hyperbolic, really glib, really, my tongue is slightly in my cheek, I'm telling a joke, but I'm not really telling a joke thing, is in 2021, when Man United went off and bought Jadon Sancho, the player you thought Sancho was going to be, Bryan is a bit like that.
Right.
Okay, so you are getting a direct, intense goal scorer and goal creator, right? Give Bryan the ball, he's going to make stuff happen. And in the last 2 seasons for Brentford, Brentford's a place
in LA, isn't it?
Yeah. For Brentford, Bryan's been making it happen. He's got a tremendous 2-man partnership with Johan Wissa. That's just a joy to watch. And yeah, 20 goals in the Premier League last season, 14 non-penalty goals. We can talk about outperforming XG if you want to. There's enough to the way he hits a football that suggests, okay, he's not going to score the same amount he scored last season, but he's going to score double figures for a while.
Yeah,
and he's a grown-up. He plays grown-up football. He knows how the Premier League works already. There's not the same onboarding process you get that we will often talk about with other players. He needs to get used to the league because he's used to it already. If there are weaknesses or things to be concerned about, is the Brentford play very direct football, and he hasn't had much experience playing against, or much success playing against settled defences. However, let's be really bleak about this, Man United aren't looking to dominate the ball in the same way that they always try to and then eventually fall away from. So that's fun. How he'll work with Cunha is interesting too. How he'll work with Cunha and Fernandes is really interesting because you're essentially going to create this sort of triangle, because Cunha is a player who wants the ball in high volume. He's a superior ball carrier and dribbler to the current offerings at the Man United team in terms of, because Rashford's gone. So normally this sort of left-sided position is Garnacho.
Yeah.
Cunha is a better passer than Garnacho, I'd say. I'd say Garnacho runs in behind the fences more than Cunha and wants to get on the outside a little bit more, but those two are very, very talented. There's also the age difference there. Cunha wants the ball in high volume to make things happen because that's his job at Wolves. Bruno Fernandes is high risk, high reward, high volume, that high intensity. And Mbeumo is also a high volume player. So there's 3 players that want the ball in high volume and there's only 1 ball. How do you balance that out? And that affects what this man who plays number 9 has to do.
Before we get to that, because I want to talk about the types of number 9s and stuff. You mentioned before an interesting term. You said he's a grown-up and he plays like a grown-up.
Yes.
I think, you didn't say this and I'm saying this. I think that at times Garnacho, for instance, doesn't have the feeling of a grown-up when I watch him play. I feel like he's a little bit wasteful. At times he's a little bit sort of selfish maybe with his possession. What do you mean by grown-up? Because that's what my head is thinking, is sensible, does the right things. Like there's certain players that I watch him and I've compared him to these guys before. Maybe the most grown-up player that I watch in the Premier League is Saka. Because I feel like he's almost a robot designed to do the right thing every time he gets the ball. But sometimes at the expense of a bit of flair and a bit of excitement, but he's so effective and efficient. And Salah's another one.
Yes.
You watch him, you think, you've just done the right thing there.
Yes.
It's not got me off my feet the way Ronaldinho might, but I can't argue with what he's done time and time again. Is that what you mean, or do you mean something else?
So Saka, Salah, and Mbeumo are players I describe of maximal efficiency.
Yeah.
And you can use the proverbial about all the clubs in your bag, or he's got every tool in his locker, but it's also the idea of understanding that you don't need them all. Right. Okay. One of my favourite TV shows is Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares.
Oh, what a show.
Brilliant show. So Gordon Ramsay goes into these alien restaurants and they're all a bit of a mess. And there's always the bit where after Gordon's like clean out the whole kitchen, oh, it's an effing mess. Oh, you got mushrooms and this. But there's always a bit where Gordon goes to the restaurant, your menu is too big. And he shortens the menu.
That big, like, absolute Argos catalogue.
And he's like, your menu's
Mexican food, Chinese.
What even are you doing?
7 different sauces. Your
Yeah.
menu's too big. Shorten it. It's got to be 1 page or 2 pages. You just get. There are certain, because the pace of the Premier League is so intense now, and there are people saying it's 10 to 15% quicker than what it was in 2014, and it wasn't exactly slow in 2014. The ability to do some of the things on page 2 of your menu aren't necessarily needed. I love players that hit nutmegs. You don't need to be hitting nutmegs all the time. You are seeing fewer and fewer players beat 3 defenders off a dribble before cutting inside and shooting, because those 3 are getting quicker and going to claw you. So when I'm looking at Mbeumo, one of the things he has is he looks after the ball. He doesn't hot potato it, but he's also going, what's the most effective thing for me to do in every single position I'm doing here? His offside tally is pretty good. I'm sure we've all watched Man United games the last 2 or 3 seasons. You're like, lad, stay onside.
Just a bit.
When I'm saying a football player plays like a grown-up, they're good at that They're good at the staying onside part of awareness, or the bit where it's a 3-on-1 and you're going, make the pass, make the pass, make the pass, make the pass. And Mbeumo's very good at, I'm holding on to the ball, defenders look the other way. Now's the correct time to make that pass. Which, a lot of that comes with age. All right? A lot of that comes with, much like being a civilian in your 20s, there's a certain part when you're 22, you're like, I'm going to have super noodles every night. And then you go, maybe I should have some vegetables.
So at least the vegetable super noodle.
Yeah.
Let meet you halfway.
Yeah. I've chopped up some spring onions and put in my super noodles. So in Mbeumo's decision-making, particularly in the last 2 seasons, has taken it to another level of him being not just a good bottom half Premier League football player, but a Premier League football player who is able to make the jump to a team that either is in the Champions League or wants to be in the Champions League. One thing that is really, really, I think one big difference between him, I'm already called in 24-25 last season, but the season before that and last season is he's now figured out how to get at the back post a lot more frequently.
Right.
So before it used to be, can he do it? Can he get there? Whereas you can look at his shot map, and one thing that's really, really pleasing is there's a little cluster of shots just to the right-hand side of the 6-yard box, and he's getting there a lot because that's his zone. That's the place he likes to shoot from, and he now knows how to get there as often as possible. And that's sort of the difference between scoring 5 to 10 goals a season to 10 to 15 of, can you figure out, if you've got a really good left-footed shot to the bottom corner, how do you get there? And he's now figured out 3 or 4 ways to get there. I'm not going to say at will, but more often than possible, which means he's always going to be likely to get a goal. And it also reduces that sort of confusion you have with your wide play. If you're a striker, the wide players now know, oh, you want to get there. You want to get to that area of the field. And he's like, I don't even have to wave to it anymore because you already know I'm making that run and you know the area I want to get to. So that's the sort of really nice grown-up football you're getting from him. He's 25 and he's turning 26 in August. These are good years to have a football player. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Just go on.
I just want to ask, because you mentioned obviously the striker.
Yes.
And your piece, I think you had Højlund in there. Does that work, do you feel? Because there's a lot of question marks around Rasmus Højlund right now. And, you know, in the ideal world, Cunha and Mbeumo come in, Mbeumo I should say, and, you know, Højlund shines, but he might not. Do you think that can work?
Let's your lineup, your team. Amorim Ball is ball back three, want to do a lot of distribution. You saw a lot towards the end of last season, a lot of balls from Harry Maguire to your wing backs to get the ball from one end to the other. That's going to change when you have 2 number 10s. One thing I asked Amorim about this after the second leg against Athletic Club. I said, so after United beat Lyon, he said, you can see our squad lacks some characteristics. And after they beat Athletic Club, he said, you can see our team has some weaknesses. And I went to him, what are they? And he went, well, I'm not going to tell you everything because obviously not. But one thing he pointed out was the right-sided 10. It's really important if that player has a left foot. And he also brought up Garnacho because Garnacho played in that position in the second leg. And he goes, it's really important if this player has a left foot because it opens up extra angles so you can have more people that can attack here. He's also very fond of making sure your right wing back has a left foot. So he wants people who can go inside and outside wherever possible in your front three in this. Now, Cunha, 2-footed. Mbeumo, 2-footed. If your right wing back is Ahmad, 2-footed, that's a different kind of 2-footed if that right wing back is Diogo Dalot, but he's also said he wants his wing, he calls them wingers, but they're wing backs. He wants at least one of these to be more offensively minded. So that's a lot of attacking players, and they're all, well, Cunha wants to go this way, he wants his right-sided 10 to go this way, and he'd also like his right wing-back, if possible, to go this way when needed. So that creates, in theory, a traffic jam where you've got all these gentlemen, and you've got Bruno Fernandes, who also wants to get forward there, doing stuff. Which means your striker, while it's nice if your striker can come deep and collect the ball, it's a lot better for everyone involved if he can stretch the final line. So, if you are going out, how can I put this to you? If I gave you a Manchester United themed time machine, so you've got a time machine, you can get any Man United number 9, but it's only Man United number 9s, go out and get one. I would probably try and get Cavani, or Saha was good at playing on the last line. If I was given a sort of last 10 years, a sort of time machine, any Premier League player from the last 10 years, I might try and get peak Jamie Vardy, because Vardy liked playing on the last line. So you want someone who can really stretch, someone who just constantly elbows, arms, twisting nipples on the centre backs, but pushing them back, because that just gives way more space for these people to go. Right. And now you're going to ask me, what player in the current market can get there?
What player in the current market can get there?
Well, sir, if money was no object, and I had also twice as long in the summer window to do negotiations, it's Viktor Osimhen.
I'm glad you clarified which Viktor.
There's a couple of Victors up for grabs at the minute.
And to be fair, you have mentioned him quite a lot on this channel over the last year or so.
If you've got the dough and if you've got the many people and time to do it. Now, when I say many people and time to do it, the most important thing you need to understand is that Viktor Osimhen and where Viktor Osimhen will likely play. It's less to do with wages, and it's more to do with the fact that there's a lot of people in and around him and in and around his future that don't get on. So Viktor Osimhen is currently contracted to play for Napoli. Napoli's chairman is De Laurentiis. Someone once described them as Italy's Daniel Levy. I don't even think that's an accurate comparison, because while Levy is known for being a hard negotiator, De Laurentiis is, on top of being a hard negotiator, he's also a TV producer. He makes Amazon Prime comedies. He makes movies. If you ever ask him, how did you buy Napoli? He tells you the story about how he bought Napoli the day after he put on a film with Jude Law and Angelina Jolie. It's like Master and Commander, not Master and Commander. Right. So he makes TV primarily, and he owns Napoli. He is a man who likes to be seen to do things. He's also a man who can change his mind like that. So you got that person, right? So hard negotiator, very interesting personality. That's if you just wanted to buy a player at Napoli right now. De Laurentiis doesn't get on with Osimhen and Osimhen's people right now. Osimhen's people, again, hard to negotiate with. It can be hard to get a read on them and what they would like to do. I'm sure many of us know that Viktor Osimhen likes Chelsea as a football club, like many young football players from Nigeria. Chelsea is a desirable club. It's not quite, I grew up watching Real Madrid. It's, I grew up watching Chelsea because of who the players Chelsea had over time.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Because the players Chelsea had across those years. So Johnny Mikel and Didier Drogba, like Chelsea is very, very popular in Nigeria. Okay. So there's a lot of Chelsea fans going, well, he likes Chelsea. We can get that deal done. And you're going, well, should make sense. And yet, so you've got that too. And then you've also got the Napoli manager who might be Antonio Conte, might not be Antonio Conte. The way someone once put it to me is, if you have a gentleman's agreement, the key thing about a gentleman's agreement is that everyone involved is a gentleman, and everyone involved likes each other. And unfortunately, the Napoli Osimhen situation, it would be like all three of us just sort of stood there like this.
Right. Okay.
Now, That's probably why he went to Galatasaray. The fact he was at Galatasaray and was incredible at Galatasaray also shows how good he is as a football player. I cannot impress upon you enough. He's brilliant. The only thing I'm worried about is the fact that sometimes he gets injured because he puts his face in places where most people are afraid to put their foot.
I remember you saying this to me, well, to us, about a year ago, if not a bit longer, and that just made me like him even more.
He's look, but I'm a Ghanaian man, and I'm talking to you. I am eulogizing a Nigerian striker. Do you know how ridiculous that is? But if money's no object, if you can do the negotiation, if you can talk to all these people, if you can bring them all to the table and get the numbers there, and then also get them to keep agreed on the numbers over a 3-day period and get them all to shake hands, you get him. I don't think Man United have the money to do that. I don't think many football clubs on this planet have the money to do that. I don't think they've got the lawyers to do that. I'm sure there's a lawyer somewhere or an agent somewhere who's looking to make a name for themselves, and if they can get that deal done, Viktor Osimhen to another European club, they will be spoken of in the same way we speak of the other great agents or football negotiators. And if you can get Viktor Osimhen to another European club, that would make you, as a football agent or negotiator in Europe, no doubt in my mind.
Is there a worry about, obviously you get the De Laurentiis thing out of the way once he's left Napoli? Is there a concern around the, I don't know what word you would use, maze around Osimhen? Is that something that, let's say United signed him, would dealing with his agents and his team and potential sort of changes in contracts and I want more money, is that something that clubs are concerned about, do you think? Or do you think once you separate the two,
I don't know if clubs are concerned about that. I think the simple answer to that is he scores so many goals. If you have a worry about that, you're not going to be worried about that, because the big thing about Viktor is he plays on the last line, and he ideally likes to stand between the two centre-backs. And he is so quick, he's so strong, that I've not seen him against too many Premier League opposition, but it's particularly in Italy. One of the centre-backs couldn't leave because both of us have to handle this lad. He's also got that very fun thing that Andy Carroll used to do. Hello, Andy Carroll. I'm going to bring you up many times in this thing. He's very good at just going, I'm standing and waiting for a cross. I'm just going to walk off from the centre-back and go stand next to the full-back. And hello, full-back. I'm going to annihilate you at the back post. What? And then Viktor's jump
he's very good in there.
Ridiculous. Yeah. He gets a goal against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League a couple of years ago, and it's one of those goals, and you get the picture, and you go, why are you so high? How did you jump that high? And the leap on him is brilliant. So he's worth, if you can whip in crosses, he's worth 5 headed goals a season. He's also got just a pile driver of a shot at the far post, and he scores a lot of goals because he's shooting from angles that most people are going, well, you're clearly going to cross it, and it just goes bang, and you're like, what? How did you? Because look, it's not going to happen. Sorry.
Why has it broken down with him and Napoli then? Because from the outside, and it's very much the outside, saw the social media stuff that looked bizarre and cruel and weird.
Yes.
And then there seemed to be other stuff which I didn't quite get my head around, and then all of a sudden he might go to Saudi, he might go here, he's gone to Turkey, he's definitely not going back to Napoli. Why is that?
I think, again, we're outsiders looking in. There seemed to definitely been a breakdown in communication between him and the higher ups. I think the social media stuff was bizarre.
Yeah.
I also I speculate that despite him winning the Golden Boot in Serie A that season, there was maybe a conversation about Kvaratskhelia being the main man at Napoli at that point in time. And if you're Viktor, I'm going, no, I scored the goals. Yeah. He assisted those. Look, those two, as far as I know, are good mates. And I mean, those two, both of them aren't at Napoli right now. Kvaratskhelia went to PSG. I mean, that first title win for Napoli, a lot of those players went because I think it just got too much. I mean, Spalletti, the manager, went, I can't keep doing this because this is just exhausting. It's
crazy.
You've been there, haven't you?
I was there in the April before they won the title, and the city was there was just like bunting everywhere, string, orange, just ropes and scarves and shrines. It was absolute, because they knew they were going to win the league, but they hadn't won it yet.
Yep.
And the atmosphere around the whole city was just incredible for the whole time we were there, and they hadn't even, it was like I think 2 weeks after we left they actually won it. But it's just insane, amazing.
It's a beautiful place to be a footballing legend and deliver footballing titles. And Scott McTominay, well done.
Yeah, well done.
I was very critical of you at Manchester United, and I'm sorry. You've shut me up completely. You're a fantastic football player and a great professional. Well done. Now, the reason why Viktor is probably not going to happen is also because of one other person at Man United, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes this week, just before the Nations League game against Germany, said he is staying at Manchester United.
Good.
He mentioned his wife gave a conversation and explained how Old Trafford is their home, actually, which she put on her Instagram story as well. If Fernandes is staying, and you've got Cunha left-sided 10 and Mbeumo, maybe, possibly, as your right-sided 10, that means Fernandes is going to drop and be your central midfielder. If Fernandes is staying, that means Al Hilal needs to buy another football player, and at the moment, it looks like that football player is going to be Viktor Osimhen. So, dominoes. Now, as I said before, if you've got Fernandes as your central midfielder, as your 8, you've got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, your striker ideally needs to play on the last line. There is maybe some merit in having Xerxes drop deep, play things around the corner so these two can both get on their bikes and go. But that, you're going to coach that. You're going to have to coach that a lot. That's probably why you want to get the Mbeumo deal over the line before preseason starts, if you want Xerxes to be your number one man. If you're going to keep Højlund, it's now going to be a case of making Højlund push further up.
Yeah.
And Højlund's probably going to have to do most of his work between the width of the posts. There's a very infamous Marcus Rashford's debut against FC Michelin.
Remember it well.
Louis van Gaal talks about it afterwards, and he said, at half-time I told Marcus he's doing too much and he needs to stand between the width of the post and the ball will come. Højlund, who is, and we've seen, good at running the channels, and I'm saying is and we have seen as in more about when he was playing in the Champions League, when he was a lot more confident. If he's going to be retained, and I don't know too much about this point, but if he's going to be retained and those two players are going to be your 10s, Højlund needs to get further up and he needs to stay the width of the post and he needs to let those players do a little bit more of the work for him. It's not impossible for that to work. A lot of that relies on Højlund grasping what needs to happen over that pre-season, but Højlund should, in theory, on paper, be able to do it. I do think Man United are still in the market for a centre forward, and I would have names for you, but this Mbeumo news meant I had to knock that.
you don't article
so forget your shopping list for now.
Yeah.
Now, if Fernandes is your central midfielder as your 8, that means the person next to him as your 6 changes a little bit. You may remember partway through last season, or there was like a little phase last season where when United were chasing a goal, Ugarte would come off, Fernandes would drop deeper, and Fernandes would play next to Casemiro.
Yeah.
Because Ugarte, for all of his skills, perhaps isn't getting the ball forward in the way that Amorim wants. And this was very much a United are a goal down, or United want to get a winner. We'll take Ugarte off, even though Ugarte is doing the legwork of 1.5 men whacking in tackles. Great. If it's Fernandes throughout the season as your number 8, you probably want someone who can do Ugarte's tackling work. So you're doing a lot of running. Like, this lad needs to have 4 lungs, 8 legs, and preferably is a tall bastard. You want Onana from Aston Villa, but you're not getting him. But you want a player of that type, that sort of and Laurie's reported this well in the deal sheet. United are in the market for an athletic number 8 box-to-box midfielder. So you are looking for a Aston Villa Onana or a younger Declan Rice, that sort of player who just eats up ground.
Yeah.
Makes tackles in an Ugarte-like fashion, but can also get the ball forward a little bit. More than Ugarte. You don't need to do it too much because Bruno's going to take care of loads of it, but you do need a ground eater. A lot of them are in France.
It seems like historically a lot of players in that position have come from France. I think of some of the best sort of all-action defensive midfielders in the last 25 years. Like you think of Kante or Vieira or there's Tchouaméni. Like it seems like there's a wealth of those sorts of players in France. I don't know why.
Someone I spoke to not too long ago said Ligue 1 is very good at developing. Ligue 1 develops good players. It unfortunately has a problem developing good teams. And I mean that's why it's good for shopping. again, we'll come up with a list of those sorts of central midfielders, but I just need a little bit more time.
Just going back to the number 9 thing for a minute, because one name that we didn't really speak about, who has been linked extensively, is Viktor Gyokeres.
Yes.
Laurie wrote that Amorim is keen on him, as you would assume he would be, considering he scored loads of goals for him last season and this season before he left. He can play on the last line. He likes stretching defences, whether that would be with the ball at his feet oftentimes or running in behind. He's not as dominant in the air at all as Osimhen. I think he's got a startlingly low number of headed goals in his career, despite being a sort of physical striker. Could he do that role? Are United genuinely interested in him? Two different questions.
Are United genuinely interested in him? I'm sure he's on shortlists. Now, look, United have had shortlists that are... How many was it for Aaron Wan-Bissaka again?
Was it 1,500?
700 and something? It was a lot.
And we went for the one that was, the obvious one that was man of the match against us when we went to Selhurst Park.
Now this is the thing about, I'm sure you feel it because we're in the United universe. According to reports, Manchester United interested in a football player. The problem is Man United have loads of shortlists all the time. There's data shortlists, there are regional shortlists, there are shortlists that get revised over and over and over again. And because it's Manchester United, and because Manchester United have a very large network of scouts, and because they are scouts, not spies, what sometimes happens, and what very often happens, and what you'll feel is a player will be, say, number 62 on a shortlist, but they'll know a Man United scout is there, and then their people will be like, Manchester United want us, we're going to put the word out, and then some intrepid person goes, according to reports in place, Man United are buying this player, and you're like, what? Man United know who they are, but Man United know who a lot of players are.
That reminds me of, do you remember David Brooks from Bournemouth, was it?
Yeah.
I think we spoke to one of your colleagues at the time, Peter Russell, who was like, he's on a list. That list might be of 200 players, but it was like being reported, United are looking at David Brooks, and everyone was losing their minds. Like, why are we looking at him? Well, he's on a list that could be very, very long.
If you are a football club who wants to be playing, if you're a football club that wants to be getting to the Champions League quarter-finals, Viktor Gyokeres is on your list.
Yeah.
And you need a striker. Viktor Gyokeres is on your list in the same way that Victor Osimhen is on your list. You're probably knocking Osimhen off your list at a certain point because you're going, we can't afford him, or you're going because negotiating or trying to extricate him from Napoli is really, really hard. Gyokeres is probably on a list shorter than 20 for Manchester United because Amorim knows him. United have a pretty good working relationship with Sporting. They bought Bruno Fernandes off them, so they know who to call up. They know how to have that conversation. They know which flights to get from Manchester Airport. They can get the fast pass. Bing, bang, bing, bang, boom. So that's good. Apparently Gyokeres is open to being reunited with Amorim. I can't cop a bottom of that for you.
Right.
But it's been said. It's in a piece with Laurie, so therefore I trust it a little bit more than if it's said from someone with a bunch of numbers and on their Twitter account. No offense, I've got numbers in my Twitter account too. So there. Gyokeres is a really interesting player in that, he's good and his number tally is really, really good. However, the concern that you would have if you're watching his footage as a Premier League analyst is he's scoring certain goals in the Premier Liga in Portugal that he just will finding very, very difficult to score in the Premier League. He's getting time and space on the ball that you just will not get in the Premier League. He's also scored a lot of penalties, which, not to be all, we won't get that many penalties. It's like, that's Bruno's job.
Yeah.
Which is another thing with Mbeumo.
Because he's got 5 or so penalties.
Yeah, he's got 6 penalties, which that's Bruno's job. And maybe you can share and delegate, but that's 5 penalties you aren't going to score next season. And also, are you going to be able to... Are the players who are good at getting you penalties still going to be there? United will always get penalties because United play in a certain way that is more conducive to winning penalties. They don't whip in loads of crosses. They have loads of players who carry the ball in the boxes. And when Martial was here, they won loads more because Martial knew how to fall down properly. It's a skill.
Yeah,
look, it's a skill.
Lost art.
It's a skill. You've got to work on it. There's one penalty Bruno Fernandes gets against Aston Villa behind closed doors, and mate, it's an artistic fall
From Bruno?
Yeah. It's one of those, you know how they say a player buys a penalty?
Yeah.
Bruno has one, and it is the best purchase of a penalty I've ever seen of my life. Because it's not just the defender doing something stupid. It's the defender's beginning to do something stupid, and Fernandes going, well, thanks, mate.
Well, like the Casemiro one against Leon.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant buy from Casemiro.
Yeah.
Like, there was a contact there, and he stuck it, but Casemiro made that a penalty. Yeah. It was brilliant.
It's a skill.
Yeah,
Look, it's a skill. And Gyokeres. Anyway, so there's certain goals in Gyokeres' catalogue that he won't necessarily get to the Premier League. However, there are certain goals in his catalogue, both at Sporting and from his final season at Coventry, where you go, yeah, you're worth 10, 15 goals in the Premier League for sure. Look, he's got a release clause. He's of interest to a number of clubs, not just Manchester United. Arsenal are looking at him as well. I think Arsenal are sort of weighing up him or Benjamin Sesko as well. We'll see. We'll see with him. He's a good football player. The whole thing about United and buying a number 9 is strikers aren't cheap, and the sort of striker United need is probably too expensive for what they currently have, which means you need to... This is why missing out on the lap was hard, because any striker list I can put up and any strikers I can recommend will be slightly suboptimal, or have a slight thing where I'm scratching my head going, I'm not sure how this is going to translate to the Premier League in a way that you don't have if you are a Champions League club.
You've mentioned there, you've given an option where if we don't get Gyokeres or Osimhen, how it can work up front.
Yes.
Can it work in midfield if we don't buy someone? Do you see it working, or do you think Amorim looks like it and goes, it isn't going to work with Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro or Ugarte or Kobbie Mainoo or Toby Collier or whoever?
That's a really good question. I'm going to respond to this in real time. All right, let's say Man United buy no one in central midfield.
Yeah.
No central, no one else comes in. So you've got to use your current options. So, okay. You want to make that midfield well balanced without buying a new central midfielder, and I'm not going to change your striker. So let's say we're going to do Joshua Zirkzee here. Zirkzee can drop deep and collect balls. We're going to keep Cunha. Might have to put Mbeumo on the bench and replace him with Fernandes up front, and then have the Europa League final. No, not the Europa League final. He did not play in the Europa League final, but I'd probably go the partnership of Casemiro and Ugarte in there to just sort of like churn the ball. Casemiro's long passing is very, very good. So, and he's got a pretty good playing. Pretty good? He's got a good playing affinity with Bruno Fernandes. So now you're going, wait, why am I dropping my 50, 60 million pound Bryan Mbeumo to get stuff out of him? And Mbeumo coming in is really good. It does also create some really head-scratching questions about Mason Mount.
I was going to say there's two names you haven't mentioned, Mason Mount and Ahmad.
Yes. So Mason Mount is the right side of 10.
Okay.
To me, that's where he's most... Mason Mount is a 10, I should say. Mason Mount's played very, very well as a left-sided 10 for Chelsea. When he does it, he plays in sort of this quasi-8 box-to-box. So sometimes he drops deep to make a box-to-box formation, and then it becomes more of a 4-3-3. And then sometimes he pushes up. Amorim fell in love with him for the same reason Thomas Tuchel fell in love with him, for the same reason Gareth Southgate falls in love with him, is because Mason Mount looks like a very nice boy, but Mason Mount is a lizard who will steal your wallet.
It's a sentence you don't hear every day.
It's not.
Mason Mount is a lizard who'll steal your wallet.
Look. Mason Mount is above average in a number of things you want from an attacking midfielder. He's got a decent progressive pass. He's got a great sideways pass. He's good ball striking technique, but he's exceptional when it comes to defending off-ball work. And when it's off-ball work, he's a lizard. Right. Oh, mate. Mason Mount is incredibly good at switching, at recognizing pressing systems and avoiding your pressing system and switching during the game. So so you can call, we've got to press the man now. Mount will do it, and then partway through the move, we've got to stop pressing the man, press the zone. You can do that, and then you can do press where the ball is. He can do that, and he can do that to a level that a number of football players of his on-ball skill wouldn't want to do.
Right.
And go, well, hang on, I'm this good. Why am I doing all this pressing like? And Mason's like, no worries, boss.
Yeah.
And again, because he looks that way,
we spoke about this a lot.
No, your skill, Mr. Mount, is to not get booked for that stuff. Mount's that. I think I've said this before. When it kicks off, you need 7. Mount's the guy in the pub brawl who. He's talking to the bouncer afterwards, like, it's fine. And then you leave and you're like, weren't you like... Yeah. And he's like, no, I wasn't. You're like, you're a nasty little... This is all complimentary. However, if you are buying 62 million on Cunha and 60 million on Bryan Mbeumo, Mason Mount is a squad option. Look, if you want to get in the Champions League and you're playing loads of games, that's a really good squad option to come off the bench. That completely changes the game. This also creates... Probably good for Mount because it's not pressure now to stay. It's not pressure now to constantly come back from injury early and keep doing certain things. So that's good, fun,
interesting. He's been fit for
about.
It'll be 3 months in a couple of weeks, and I think he played 3 games in a row for the first time, 3 league games in a row for the first time since signing. Only in May.
The good and the bad thing about playing only 1 game a week is you've got a squad that can handle 1 game a week, but also how do you divvy up that game time?
Yeah.
Now. That does create quite fun scenarios, particularly if you're using a team of wing-backs where certain players, they're going, you're only playing 60 minutes. That's not an insult. I want you to exhaust yourself in these 60 minutes because I've got Mount coming off. The Ahmad question, super interesting. So I did a mocked-up lineup of how this will work if I had Mbeumo as your right-sided 10, who plays here. I like Ahmad right wing back and as a right-sided 10. I think as a right-sided 10, he's a very obvious on-ball creator. He's a very, very good goal scorer. When he turns up at right wing back, his strength is that obviously his runs into the box are late and aren't being picked up by as many people. I think as a defender, he is a pressing defender. So the value is when he presses really high to join a team coordinated press and he nicks the ball off you, as you may remember during the 4-0 win of Everton.
Fantastic.
He's done it a few times as well, hasn't he? Yeah. That little just nicked it off someone who didn't think he'd be there when he was.
Yes, he's great at that. And he's really good at recognising when a player who perhaps isn't the most comfortable on the ball is taking a heavy touch. It's that sort of eye up, off balance, now go. So if you want to play a very... full front, heavy metal style of football where you're going to get. I said full front. I said full front. There you go.
Full frontal football.
Full
That's
frontal
what
football.
We want from Amorim next season.
If you're playing a game where you want to just live in their half, Ahmad as your right wing back, good, useful. Now the chewy nougat is Mbeumo's a left footer and he wants to cut. He can go down out wide, but he ideally wants to cut inside and shoot on his left foot, and Ahmad is left-footed as well. And while Amorim likes that, he too wants to do that. So that may create a traffic jam. Again, this is another reason as to why if you want a number 9, that number 9's got to get up there because
get out of the way.
It's going to be Cunha, it's going to be Mbeumo, it's going to be Ahmad, it's probably also going to be Fernandes, and they're all pushing forward. So if you can get a bit further, great space. Mbeumo as your right 10 and Ahmad as your right wing back is going to take some time on the training field to get together. However, it's only going to Solskjaer used to always say intelligent people know how to play football, know how to work together. Look, space is like oxygen to attacking football players. If you can get the space and get the ball, you can do things together. Now, if you change your right wing back to Diogo Dalot, lot more seamless, as it were. Dalot, we know he can get up and down the field. His crossing can be erratic, but I think if you've got a player like Mbeumo who is that dangerous as the 10, that might eke out a little bit more space for Dalot. But then if you play Dalot there, then you go, well, where's Ahmad? Ahmad is one of your best attackers. Then you go, I'm sure someone in the comments is going, what happens if you just play Mbeumo as your number 9? I don't know yet.
Because he has done that.
He has done that.
He does do that occasionally.
He has done that in the 3-5-2. So you can whiteboard FIFA Football Manager, Bryan Mbeumo as your number 9, and then Cunha as your left-sided 10, Ahmad as your right-sided 10, Diogo Dalot as your right wing-back, Bruno Fernandes as your 8. I think you probably want to put Ugarte in there because he's going to be your one who's going to hold the fort.
Win the ball.
And then Dorgu's going to be your left-sided wing-back. Dorgu's going to have to hold a lot of width. Any wing-back's going to hold a lot of width if you're going to play Mbeumo as your central player. Good thing about Mbeumo, He's got a big ass.
Yes.
You wanted to talk about this?
Yes.
Well, how does that help him?
Mbeumo's ass.
He's got a massive backside.
Let's get into that.
Someone once described him as having a backside that's like a bag of washing.
Class.
Years and years and years ago, when I wasn't working for The Athletic, it was Euro 2016, and Antoine Griezmann is doing fantastic football for the French national team. And loads of times I'm watching BBC coverage, ITV coverage, and they're going, his ability to ride challenges is amazing for a player of his size. Size physically. Now, I've got my tweet deck going on as I'm going. I keep hearing this thing about how Griezmann's really small, but yeah, he can just roll out challenges. And when Griezmann is scoring goals, there is a hashtag that keeps going called Fleur de Grise, which is Griezmann's ass in French. And then I sort of
write that down.
Sort of go, hang on, what's going on? These two might be. And I watched one of Griezmann's assists for the French national team in 2016, and I went, he's using his buttocks. He's using it to shield the ball.
He's using it good.
He's using it good. So I wrote a piece in 2016 about how Griezmann uses his buttocks to protect the ball, shield the ball. I also used some photographs of Wilfred Bonney when he was at Man City, because Wilfred Bonney had a very large posterior. So that went out, and that was maybe the first sort of piece that got a bit of noise on social media attached to my name about football.
So it was Griezmann's ass that helped get your career going.
And then during Euro 2020, England played Scotland. Now, John McGinn has a huge posterior.
Yeah, he does. He's a good lad.
Huge posterior.
It's like a completely different posture, though, isn't it? It's not just like, this is like bizarre that we're even talking this detail, but it's not like someone's got a big bum. It's like they run in a way where their bum is like the thing that is.
Yes.
Like what is that? Is that a natural thing?
So
how can you learn that?
That's a great question. So England draw 0-0 with Scotland, and someone pointed out McGinn's massive buttocks. Someone also pointed out Jack Grealish's buttocks and his calves, and went, we need to get a former pro to explain this. Yeah. I got put in a room with Yaya Toure to help explain this. And Yaya Toure said many things to me, but one thing he pointed out was, and I'll use the tactics board for this because, oh boy, we're going to have fun today.
The tactics in the shape of a ball.
Tactics in the shape of a buttocks.
This is class.
Okay, so we're going to go 4-2-3-1.
Cool.
Bear with me, please. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. I've just done even. There we go.
There you go.
Classic 4-2-3-1. Yaya Toure, central midfielder, would often drop deep to collect the ball, and he did this. He's played in Greece, he's played in Spain, and he says when you are doing this in the Premier League in 2010, 2012. When he was doing this in Spain, he would drop deep and collect the ball, get the ball, turn around, and he goes, I'll have maybe 4 seconds to turn around, boom. And he said when he got to the Premier League, you go, okay, I got 4 seconds. He's won the Champions League with Barcelona at this point in time. He'd go to collect the ball and then just someone would be on his back. And he's like, what is this? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to get settled. Was talking to a lot of coaches in Manchester City, and one of them said, you've got the build, but you are getting caught out because you're not setting yourself properly when you collect the ball. We're going to go in the gym and work on your buttocks, and we're going to strengthen your quads. We're going to strengthen everything else. So when that defender is coming up to you and you're doing this, we need to get you into. I'm standing up now. Into a squat. When you're collecting the ball deep.
This is my favourite video ever.
This is class.
Yeah.
When you are collecting,
that needs to be the intro back.
If you are collecting the ball deep, and you can try this at 5-a-side, you can try this at your 11-a-side. If you are collecting the ball deep and your back is to goal and you don't know how much time you've got. If you are playing Power League and you are in the corner, and I'm sure you've all done this already. If you're in the corner in Power League, so you're in the corner, you're up against the wall, and you know there's someone getting there. Use your buttocks. Engage your core.
Single. Thank you.
So Yaya is explaining to me how he worked and developed this, and he also then outlined which players he saw at Euro 2020 who were very good at this.
Okay.
So he said John McGinn's very, very good at this. He said Jack Grealish is very, very good at this. He said when you were playing against N'Golo Kante, because he's already 5'7", when he got deep and squatted, he said it was like kicking a stone.
Right.
Because it was so hard to do this. Yaya also said he had to learn to do this when he was playing against Michael Carrick, because Carrick was so long that Carrick could stand behind him and then just poke his leg between Yaya's legs and then nick the ball. So he had to get even in a deeper squat.
Right.
And he said, this is really different. And then he went, now we got to talk about Eden Hazard. Because Hazard
he's the classic.
He's the
quintessential.
Is the master of big buttocks play. Now the thing about Hazard, and again, Yaya said the thing about Hazard was Yaya had maybe 2 seconds on the ball when it was at City, collecting the ball deep. Hazard was so good and so dangerous at Chelsea, he had a fraction, maybe 1 second. The thing Hazard would often do, the ball would come over to Hazard, he's on the left-hand side, and he would pause momentarily to suck you in. So you're like, Hazard's got the ball, I'm going in, and he just wait. And when you got in, I had one football player describe it as a player is coming in too hot, where they know he knows you can't change momentum, you can't change direction very quickly. So as you're coming in for impact, Hazard would use his butt like a jab. So and again, defender's coming in, he's got the ball, Hazard would go, that little gap, that little burst of separation. Then, after he's used it like a jab, that little bit of, that extra fraction of space, he'd speed away and do things. And Yaya said that was one of Hazard's greatest strengths. There's also a conversation Yaya has with Declan Rice where he's talking profusely about Hazard's buttocks and saying you can't do anything once you've been jabbed. Because you're just like, well, he's gone now. Bryan Mbeumo's really good at that.
Okay, that's how it United.
Do you know what? This has been the best podcast ever.
Yeah, I've loved it.
Do you know what I mean?
I've loved every second of it.
Everything from Mason Mount is a bag stealing lizard to the Chewy Nougat in this formation to Eden Hazard's buttocks.
A full 5 minutes on the great buttocks of Europe and Africa.
If you're ever looking at a diminutive football player and going, how is he able to, big players trying to tackle him and yet he's still keeping his balance and riding through,
probably
might be about how they're using their hips. It's also, hips are a really good way of properly maintaining hips and using your hips properly. Good indicator of how big you can get. If you ever watch a football player and go, wow, you've got really hench. If they're really, really hench and it's sort of coming in on a very narrow set of hips, you might be like, you might be top heavy. So there was a point under Roy Hodgson's England team where quite a few of them were too gym heavy and they just got loads of hamstring injuries because their hips weren't built for it. Hips really good for protecting the ball, jabbing defenders, and also just keeping the whole ship going in a nice
hips
direction.
Don't lie.
Exactly.
They do not.
Shakira tried to tell us.
She did.
And it took Roy Hodgson's gym motivation to work it out completely. This has been absolutely brilliant. I've got one more question before we go.
Sure.
Just a general kind of theme on where we're going with this Man United team. Do you think those two players are as important as I feel like they are? Do you think that they're not going to necessarily bring the 20 and 16 or 15 goals that they got at their last clubs, partly because of penalties or XG or whatever, but do you think that we are bringing in goals and that will just by itself almost catapult us up the league to a certain degree?
It feels like, and this is Jono's hat's coming off, speculation that's coming on. It feels like these two purchases this early in the window is Man United going, we're going back for the European spots. I'm not saying Champions League. I'm saying whatever they want to do this summer, it is orientated in we will be playing European competition next season. It's the slow root and branch reform and growth. Nah, essentially they can't afford it. Omar Barada last season said they are currently budgeted to. Their current budgets and current plans are on budgets of we are playing Europa League football for the next 3 seasons. They're not playing Europa League football next season, so they need European football ASAP. Best way you can do that is to solve the problems you have in the traditional way teams try and solve that of where 11th, how do we get into 6th, is you try and go, what issues do we have in both boxes? United are trying to buy attackers. The fact they're trying to buy Premier League proven attackers means they don't want that onboarding process where it will take until October or November to get good. They're like, we want to be good from the day one.
Yeah.
So that smells like that to me. these are two good players in isolation. However, as someone once wrote in the Athletic comic section, that always sticks in my head, Man United are very good at making silo signings. So signings that make sense on your own. But as I've explained, or tried to explain here, if you buy Cunha and you buy Mbeumo, that means this number 9 you have has to do certain things. And if Bruno stays, that means the person next to him has to do certain things. And if you want to get the most out of Ahmad, that means that ding, 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 ding. I think Mbeumo is a very, very good football player. And if he comes to United and doesn't work out at United, that says more about United than it does about him as a football player. I also can't guarantee he's going to work because I've seen so many other things happen at United. Right? There was a point in time when we all thought Jadon Sancho was going to be a slam dunk and he's going to play on the right wing, and then it got very, very quickly in his first season, you've got to play on the left because you need someone to offer overlapping runs, and that's got to be Luke Shaw. These things can happen very, very, very quickly. It feels like to me United are going, we're aiming for 8th plus. And it also feels like with these two signings, United are not looking at the academy in the same way that other teams would look at their academy and go, you know what, it's been a bad year, we're going to put some of these kids on and give more minutes to these kids. It's like, no, we've got to sort this out now. That's not to say Amorim won't use Carrington. That's not to say Carrington hasn't got a load of very, very talented football players. But the pressure on them to make the jump next season is perhaps not as high as what it could have been. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Carl. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, and I hope that every time you come on, there will be some technological advancements to the tactics board.
We've
got you the mat today.
I like
that. We've got some magnets that have been delivered whilst we've been talking. That
Amazing.
We're meant to be here for this. So next time, at least, we'll have those.
Great.
But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Carl. Make sure you check out Carl as well. We'll put the links to his socials, put the links to his recent articles in The Athletic, and we'll put the link to Talk of the Devils in the description. All of that will be down there, so go and check out Carl down there. Thank you, Carl. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay, as well. As always,
Joe, well done.
Pleasure.
Good note taking as well.
Thank you very much.
You've written down arse.
Griezmann's arse.
Griezmann's arse, sorry.
Yes.
Really important.
Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.